Muhammad Bhai, who has been looking after us ever since last night, who in fact changed their entire plan based on something that I mentioned in a conversation. We had a lovely meal here together. He is now going to share a few words with us as the president of our host Jamat here in Leicester. If we could welcome him with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. હું તો બધાને લેસ્ટરમાં સ્વાગત આપું છું. મારી તમન્ના છે કે તમે લોકોની કામયાબ મીટિંગ થાય અને આપણી મહેમાન નવાઝગી તમને પસંદ આવે. આપણા તરફથી કાંઈ કમિયા હોય તો આપણને માફ કરજો ઇન્શાઅલ્લાહ, અને આપણે ફૂલ અફોર્ડ કરીએ છીએ ઇન્શાઅલ્લાહ પાછો તમે નેક્સ્ટ ટાઈમ ક્યારે બોલાવવાનો. મારા પાસે એનાથી સિવાય બીજું કાંઈ નથી. તો inshallah, I'll just pass you to the next agenda item. Welcome to Leicester.
Thank you, Mohammed Uncle. Okay, so we'll just move on to the next agenda item. Call on the President Arif Bhai to actually give his speech. Can we have a salawat?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين إنه خير ناصر ومعين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين. Dear President and host of Leicester Jamaat, Muhammad Bhai Walji, amazing committee members, managing committee members and volunteers of Leicester Jamaat, executive councillors, esteemed guests, observers, I would say the family members of Council of European Jamaat, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I want to thank this amazing house that showing its maturity. We have gone through a morning where we discuss many items which only a mature organization can discuss. Maturity, rushd in Islam, is not like maturity in other religions and in other societies. In Islam, maturity is measured also on compassion. It's measured on being able to take a pathway which is efficient, but it's not a materialistic angle, but also how you create and keep love and enhance spirituality. So I really want to say that we have had very strong agenda items, and I also feel that treasury point of view, robust piece of saying clearly where are we. So now I would like to focus on a bit 20% of where we've been and 80% of where we are going, inshallah. Can I have a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa Alhamdulillah, since the first week of October, we have been in office, and I would say that like Hazrat Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, when he says that clouds are like opportunities, they pass by very fast. there were three things that came very unexpected. But all of them came out with its positives. Let me share with you. Firstly, a most difficult time for our brethren in Lebanon. I have never seen Council of European Jamaats, that means all the 18 members, rallying, and you have seen this morning 84,000 pounds collected, with the majority of those, I would say not only 80%, but 90% pro of these are individual donors, and on average that they pay 200 pounds from their own pockets, from their own families. And I know that there are children, women and men who have been part of it. This is being an active movement, but it was not the whole story. The whole story is actually something very different. We had one amazing Jamaat called Haydari, who came and said, we would like to start fundraising, but not with monies, but in kind. And would like to ship. Suddenly we have a plethora of Jamaat saying that we also want to be part of it. We learned as an institution that when we do not have payment portals in place, that what do? Mu'mineen find other places. Online donations. Jamaats came. And we have goods in centers after centers. And when I see the volunteers in each and every Jamaat who actually work together, it's very heartwarming. Second one, I have never seen that COEJ comes and attracts new donors, puts hope in other people several kilometers and miles away, but puts a hope in Europe that we can. Yes, we can. Secondly, when we do this, I have never seen that we work as a family, COEJ and WF, hand in hand. But not only that, we come with who is Husayn, one of the biggest brands in the Shia world, one of the biggest brands in the Muslim world, saying that we want to work with COEJ. And we say, Bismillah, all collectively to please our 12th Imam, Ajallahu Ta'ala Faraju Sharif. Secondly, it's a dark episode again, which is the assisted dying. It doesn't sit well with everything which we believe in. So we had to take action. Are we set up to take action? So we pledged that we will be more vocal, we will be more systematic, and we will be very clear when it comes to policies and national outreach. And do you know, alone we can't do it. But we paired up with Majlis Ulama. We drafted. Sayyid Maulana Ali Rizvi says, Bismillah, tashrif la, inshallah, hum karenge saath mein kaam. And we had the imza and we went together. Pride again that COEJ and Majlis Ulama together. And I see this coming on. Then we have a most difficult point with our daughter in a most difficult situation, as you know. But we write a letter, a very respectful letter. A letter to the Minister of Justice. A joint letter with Haydari Jamaat. We have to fulfill our obligation as a regional representative body together with our member Jamaat, because the individual is a member of that Jamaat. But that was not enough. All the other Jamaat say we would like to work and write within the democratic rights in an organized fashion. And we had several emails sent locally, and we provided the template as well. So I really want to thank everyone for those three unexpected opportunities to serve. Not all opportunities to serve are colorful, but they're definitely ones which are such that we try to think what our Imam expects of us. I want to share one small incident about the best of COEJ. An incident none of most of you at least, I would say none, is aware of. This is the platform to share. We had a member from our community, a Khoja Shia Ithnashri member, who originates from a different country, lives in Germany where we do not have member jamats, passed away, held an infection. We had to do wajib kifai in a most difficult manner because Germany has got its own legislation. And some of you will nod from France specifically. I'm looking at Arif Bhai as well, that there are certain rules and regulations when it comes to holding what you call infection in the body and what do you go about. Because this institution, our Khoja community, had amazing guidelines from the World Federation, which we could implement from the COVID times, we're able to reuse and recycle these again. How do you do tayammum specifically when it comes to the deceased body, when you cannot touch? And we were able to forge new alliances, new communities, and we were able to bury this mu'min. And we were able to help those mu'minin, the family as such. And do you know who came to help? A Khoja brother who moved from Pakistan into Stuttgart, Brother Zuhaib, and he actually wanted to engage with us on a different topic, and then he was able to serve and help this mu'min, this marhum. I want to share this because this is how we as a family come together. Yes? Let's look forward. Before we look forward, I would like to take some inspiration from the Holy Quran. We have a very interesting, if you cannot see properly, go to the Holy Quran. It is Surah number 39, which is Surah Al-Zumar. Ayat 71. Ayat 71 is not as ma'roof, not as famous as ayat number 73, but I would like to go to 71. وَسِيكَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. What is it? إِلَى جَهَنَّمْ زُمَرًا. It basically is about those who are disbelievers, who have gunagar, big guna. They are used what? Driven unto hell in groups. Ya Allah. Scary. 73, however, is very interesting. وَسِيكَ الَّذِينَ اتَّقُوا. So those who have taqwa. رَبَّهُمْ إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ زُمَرًا. Very famous ayah. In troops we will enter Jannah. But do you see the word again? Driven unto. Driven unto was in 71, driven unto 73. Where is Arif Ali trying to go? Why would anyone not want to go into Jannah? Why do they need to be driven in? Jahannam, we understand somebody is driven. Why would someone need to be driven into Jannah? Any answers? This is a question. From the audience, Sister Sabira, Bismillah. Can we give a mic, please? This was not a planted question, yeah? Sister Sabira, whilst is going, is actually head of Qari, which is Quran Azadari and Religious Impact. Bismillah.
Thank you. I may be wrong, but because they're in the company of Sayyid al-Shuhada, Abu Abdullah.
They are in the company of Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam. One of the marja in Najaf asks this question, Man hatman nafahmam ke chera. In ayat dar Quran, that this ayat speaks about someone who has to be driven into Jannah. Until I read in Kamil Ziyarat, and our holy sixth Imam speaks about this incident, where the voice comes from those who are in Jannat and who are escorting people in. Kad istikhna ilaykum. You don't want to come in. We are longing to meet you. You know what the answer is then? فَمَا يَرْفَعُونَ رُؤْسَهُمْ إِلَيْهِمْ. They did not even raise their heads towards the person calling. لِمَا يَرَوْنَ فِي مَجَالِسِهِمْ وَسُرُورًا وَكِرَامًا. Rather, they are surur, they are happy and full of honor and joy of being in the majlis of Aba Abdullah al-Husayn. I'm mentioning this because this is the spirit. This is the spirit of what we want in Council of European Jamats, and each and every Jamaat and member, that we would like our generations to say that, Ya Aba Abdullah, we love you so much. Wherever you are is Jannah for us. Wherever you are. And with that hope, you will see the next few months are going to be pivotal in that spirit, inshallah. If we go to the next. What you see here is a spring, a summer, and an autumn full of activities. Someone said, what are we now going to do? Because we have so many issues to look at which are problematic. Let's look forward, and next few months are going to be absolutely amazing. From 15 Sha'ban, we have a ladies' workshop which is going on. Then we have a Quran competition which is organized by Qari, which we will hear more from Zuhair Bhai. We have a Ramadan relief where we have pledged with World Federation, we're going to work hard. So this Ramadan, I would like all councillors here to be part of raising the monies in our Jamaats, inshallah. It's not about WF Aid will do it. No, we will do it. We are Aid together, yes? We will have a website launch which we are aiming towards end of April. Why? Because we are also assessing that we want to have payment portal with it as well. We are going to, inshallah, have a Quran retreat between 19th and 20th April. You will hear more about that under the banner of Qari. We will have a Hajj seminar. Date will be confirmed, but it is in the spring. Muhammad Kazim Bhai, where are you sitting? Yes, we will have it in the spring soon, the date, inshallah. We will have a Madaris conference. Initially, we are thinking of having it on the 7th of June. Date to be confirmed with poster and everything, which is aimed towards our children going forward. We are going to have an Azadari retreat in the summer. We're going to come out with a date. Throughout Shahrul Ramadan, a focus is on palliative care, one of the pledges. Palliative care, what do you do end of life? Dr. Saab, Dr. Munidatu, he will going to speak about the progress of that soon. COEJ camp, flagship. Do you know what problem we had? So many children want to be part of it. The hunger of children for religious, spiritual upliftment is enormous. When we come to Qari, I want you to hear how many enrollments we've had on the competition as well. Mullah Askar Memorial Tournament as well, we are working to work with one of the Jamaats, that in their sports tournament they will do a collab, and we will announce about that very soon as well. Then we have, I know the multiple question, have LDP su bachi leadership development program kya re che su tame ban kari dida? No way. Leadership development program is not going to be leadership development program. Huh? It's going to be leadership development program with additional module in there. We are going to uplift it with an additional module on giving a USP, unique selling point of what is Islamic management and Islamic leadership added to the amazing LDP program. And we will aim to do that around the month of November, inshallah. So what you see here is that in the spirit of the Husaynis, that we will, inshallah, go trooping ahead. And if we hold our hands, bihaqqi Imam Zamana, we will, inshallah, be such that we will say we don't only want Jannah, we want Jannat on this earth in the spirit of Aba Abdullah al-Husayn. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hassan, thank you very much, Mr. President. So that takes us on to the next item on the agenda, which is the Lisbon Jamaat item. And this was to do with the constitution and and the due diligence that needed to be completed. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to Shabir Bhai Merali, who's just going to give us a few minutes of discussion on this before we then move on past that.
Okay, so for the Lisbon Jamat, as we had mentioned in the Watford meeting, and what I had mentioned in the October conference, the due diligence, it was reported that the due diligence was apparently done. We did not have any sight of any document, so we formed a team, you guys formed a team where Mehboob and myself, we have sat down on a few occasions, and we will be going through all the paperwork. Alhamdulillah, the president of Lisbon Jamaat said whatever needs to be changed in their constitution, just tidying up a few issues like, just the word Shia instead of Shia Ithna Ashri, XYZ, the way the membership is structured in there, that it should fit in line with COEJ. Inshallah, we hope to have all that ready by Shawwal. It will be a comprehensive exercise, and at the same time, we will be able to also develop a skeleton, a template, which can be used for other Jamaats who want to enter COEJ. So it will not just be a tick box exercise. So our plan is to create all this, send it to the Secretariat, then it can be sent to Lisbon Jamaat for them to be able to implement using their own machinery, their own laws as per their constitution. Once we have the revised document, get it translated, officially translated, then it can come into COEJ as an official document. I don't know if you want to add anything else, Mehboob? So that is the plan we have set so far. Inshallah, by Shawwal, a month, couple of months in Ramadan and all that will be done.
Hassan, thank you very much. That seems pretty straightforward. So we've got a timeline set. We know what the action points are. We know who's going to be doing it. I will open if there is any observations or questions on this. Dr. Jiwa, please.
Sir, ask Shabir Bhai. Shabir Bhai, the constitution is the only thing now we have to look into it. Otherwise, all other things have been done. Can I understand that?
Okay, so what was given to us on the 4th of October at the conference was just the constitution. And they told us that the due diligence has been done, but we didn't have any, so we don't know what else. So we will start from afresh. We will start from everything the way it is supposed to go. And also we ask the previous committees, especially you, Dr. Jiwa, you have been on this for years. If you have any information, any emails, and the office bearers pertaining to Lisbon Jamaat, please send it forward to the Secretariat. Please go through your archive, because I don't think they have anything on there. So many administrations have changed from Dr. Akbar's time, your time, to Salim's time, and I don't think we have any information. A lot of emails have been exchanged with them. I've got a few, but whatever you can gather from your archives, please, if you can forward them to Secretariat, they can share it with us so we know we are covering all the, because this exercise has been done before in bits and pieces. It has not been done comprehensively. So they did it, then they stopped. In your time also they started something, then they stopped. Akbar's time, nothing much happened. Salim took it up, and in Masta we told that they are coming. And next thing we know, in October, they are in COEJ. We want to, for charity purposes, we want to have everything neat and tidy and filed properly.
Can I just say, now, alhamdulillah, I remember at my time, Dr. Maulidin and myself, where Bashir Bhai Harun was alive. And we were actually trying Portugal to be a member Jamaat. We went and we did actually support them, though they were not the members, with the Molana, with the books and things like that. And there was a bit delay from their side. Still, when Siptan Asaria got interested to apply for membership, he then wrote to us, and because of the Jamaat, is quite a lot of Pakistanis and less Khojas. I contacted Rasulullah at that time because his constitution was the one which I thought was matching with them. So that was shared with them, and that constitution was sent to COEJ at the time of Dr. Akbar. I think the language was in Portuguese, something like that, and they were asked to send it in English translation. As per my understanding, the English translation was sent, and I think that's where you were stuck otherwise. The reason I'm asking you because we have granted that the membership. So I wanted to make sure it's a constitution which you are looking into, which you haven't received the copy in English.
Yeah, so Dr. Jiva, the thing is they were granted membership, but in that same meeting it was agreed that we will re-look at whatever was done. So I was just speaking to Mehboob, by those documents which you are mentioning, if they can be shared with us, to us, then we can see if we have missed anything.
No, I don't have any, it should be with the Secretariat. It's Dr. Akbar's time.
So may I just say this, that in our Secretariat, we will look at if there are documents of such of due diligence. If we find, we'll share. My request is a different one, that because when it comes to, it seems like for some reason or the other, filing those parts of the past, because let's also remember that members do not come frequently, there's time gap between. If you ask me, like, when was the last member who came before Lisbon? We have a time gap, yeah, significant. So I think it's very important to not reinvent the wheel every time. And Zuhair Bhai will be coming about it, that we have, if you look at the coin which we phrase intercom or inter-community workings, and one of the things this term we want to increase the membership, the number of members. We want to be able to have more members in COEJ. And this is, but we have to do it very in a thorough manner, because also we look at what we discussed earlier this morning. So therefore, Zuhair Bhai is going to announce like how the council composition is. We know that Dr. Jiva is already, so he will come to it, but you see, but in other words, it's basically, I want that Mehboob Bhai, Shabir Bhai, and Dr. Jiva, that you three work together on an angle and share, because it's got a bank of experience from all these other parts, so just come together, but at the same time we want to now look at it with a fresh pair of eyes. Lisbon is our member, and they have agreed to modify and change whatever is needed. That's it. Santo.
Rasul Bhai?
With regards to Lisbon, if you look at the email dated 28th February 2020, Lisbon's constitution, the English version, the Portuguese version, it's all in there. And the actual application of the letter, it's all part of those documents. If you look at the 28th February 2020, you'll find a lot of Lisbon stuff in there.
If there is no other questions or observations, we can move on, inshallah. So the next item on the agenda was the Imam Reza Hardship Fund, and I'm going to hand over to our Vice President, Dr. Munir.
Assalamu alaikum. You are all aware of the Imam Reza Hardship Fund, which was launched in the last term. According to the Treasury, we have dispersed about £180,000 towards this fund in the last 2 years. There was some lull in distribution. The previous form was a very simple form. At that time, there was hardship in the community, and I presume the decision was to leave the onus on the person requesting the fund to soul search and request for the fund, and there was no much due diligence that was required of the recipient. We have updated the form very briefly. We haven't put much into it, except that we have put an asterisk in the form at the bottom that the funds that you are going to receive are Sadaqah fund, because that's what it is. And it's important for the people, the recipient, to understand that the money they are receiving as Sadaqah fund, and Sadaqah fund can be used for a lot of things. Yeah? So it's not that it's very restrictive, but at least the recipient should understand that what they are getting is Sadaqah fund. We want to further the forms to do a bit more of due diligence and soul searching from the recipient part. And Rizwan Bhai Khimji, who was here until 15 minutes ago, who left because the Secretariat was not running the conference meeting to the time, and and he had to leave. So any difficult question he was going to answer. So if you want to ask any simple question, I'll be able to answer. But the next task for us is to do a Zoom meeting with representatives from different Jamaat, and Abbas Bhai is one of them, because we want to change the format of the form. But as agreed in the last meeting, the due diligence is done by the Jamaat. So when the request comes, even though the request is coming on the COEJ website, that is forwarded to the individual Jamaat, and the individual Jamaat will do the due diligence, and they'll say they have done the diligence, and we remit the fund to the Jamaat, for the Jamaat to then remit to the recipient. There are one or two occasions where the individual don't want to go to the Jamaat for whatever reason. Then we have a one-to-one with the recipient as to why they don't want to go to the Jamaat. And I was questioned by the president only on Tuesday that he has seen a payment going to an individual directly. So I raised my hand that it was I, but I convinced him that I did interview personally, so that satisfied him. But the trail goes to the secretary, so he's aware of what is happening. I'm also pressuring the president to create a Sadaqah app, because we are using Sadaqah fund. A lot of our Sadaqah fund are going elsewhere, and my earnest request to all the Jamaat is that if you can keep hold to the Sadaqah fund, you can use it yourself. Any excess you give to COEJ. If we have got any excess, then we give it to World Federation to be remitted further. So I was speaking to, I won't name a name, to a Jamaat, and he said they send that £10,000 to Al Ain, who are doing a great job. But so are we. And if you ask Ayatollah Sistani, who actually oversees Al Ain, he says local people take priority. So whilst we are sending our funds overseas, we ourselves are looking for funds and going with Kashkol. So my earnest request is to all the Jamaat, please hold on to your Sadaqah fund. If you are using it, fine. If you're not, if you can give it to COEJ. And my request is to those Jamaat who are collecting a lot of Sadaqah fund. Then we can recycle it and give it to those Jamaat whose collection is less. And you need to remember that those Jamaat whose Sadaqah collection is less are actually the Jamaat whose members are more needy. Yeah? So please, earnest request, pressure on the president to create an app so that our Sadaqah fund comes to us and we can use it ourselves. But inshallah, we should be trying and uplift our community whatever way we want. Sant.
Can I then just say the following? In Dr. Saab's spirit, Abbas by Manji's spirit, also from the last exco, I heard the number 180,000 over 2 years. On average, that means that it is about 90,000 a year. It's very doable. Vis-a-vis what Jamaats are sending everywhere in the world and spending, it's very possible. This is called how you pool money between Jamaats. That when there is less availability in one, the other goes. But the assurance is that we have due diligence. We've got a proper form. Also, there are some Jamaats who have got welfare committees who are more advanced in being able to do. That's why through Rizwan Bhai Kimji, who is not here, share those best practices. Okay? And we have also the reason of having it with an office bearer, the Vice President, Dr. Munir there. We also see that there becomes a robustness as well. Okay? So what I want to ask here is, when I look around, is there a clear willingness in the spirit of, for example, Peterborough Jamaat? We also saw in a pie chart which Treasury presented about Sadaqah where the different Jamaat, you didn't see 18 slices. We saw about what? 5 slices or 6 slices? Very good. 5, Panjatan. But here we want to have 18 slices. We actually have. We're not saying that use all the sadaqah and send, but to the point that we know that atlo sudi jetlu amaro je jarur she, we can actually cover it off. Is that okay? Because I would like to minute that. If you are in agreement that you apportion your sadaqah at least towards this. Yes? Yes, nobody not in disagreement. Arif Bhai, Bismillah.
I will repeat what I have asked for several years already. If you create an app or anything about sadaqah, please allow us to pay in euro, because we are sending all our money to WF because they accept directly euros, and many families in Paris are doing so.
Chuito, inshallah, we will do it. Inshallah. And I will give further, હું જ્યારે હું હમણાં વેબસાઇટની બારામાં કે પેમેન્ટ પોર્ટલ હશે તો અમે કોશિશ કરે છે કે આ પેમેન્ટ પોર્ટલ અને જે એપ હોય એ એક પ્રોજેક્ટમાં અમે સાથે કરી. બિકોઝ પેમેન્ટ પોર્ટલ હોય ઘણા મકસદ માટે જે પૈસા જે વાપરવું છે જે ઇસ્તેમાલ કરવું છે જે એ બધા જે છે ડિફરન્ટ કેટેગરીઝ એ ખાલી નથી ડિફરન્ટ કેટેગરી પણ ઓલ્સો ડિફરન્ટ કરન્સીસ. ઓકે, તો એપમાં પણ આ પોસિબિલિટી હશે ઇન્શાલ્લાહ. So this is now actually minuted, and we're going to work towards delivering an app together with the payment portal. Asantu. Sujat bhai.
I have a question. It's not about directly about Imam Reza hardship fund and sadaqah, but is about Zakatul Fitr. Why am I asking this question? Because કોઈ અમારા મેમ્બર અમને કીધું કે આયરું sistani.org લખેલું છે કે તમે જે ઝકાતુલ ફિત્ર તમે કલેક્ટ કરો છો બહેતર છે કે તમે તમારા મરજાને પહોંચાડી દો પછી લોકલી તમે જે નીડી છે એ લોકો અમને આપો. તો એ જરાક એના બારામાં તમે ક્લારિફાઈ કરી શકો, અને અગર એ ક્લારિફાઈ થઈ જાય તમે એ જમાતોને સેન્ડ કરી શકો કે ના મરજા પ્રમાણે આવી રીતને તમે તમારા ઝકાતુલ ફિત્ર વાપરવાનું છે, પહેલે તમે અહીંયા વાપરવાનું છે પછી ઓવા. કારણ કે હવે એ સવાલ છે કે અમે ડાયરેક્ટમાં મોકલાવે કે અમે દર વર્ષે અમે કોએજને મોકલાવે છે, અને કોએજ એ પછી મને લાગે છે વર્લ્ડ ફેડરેશન સાથે કામ કરે છે કે આ ઝકાતુલ ફિત્ર જે હકદાર છે ને પહોંચાડી દે. અને તમે એ ક્લારિફાઈ કરી શકો કે તમારું પ્રોસેસ કેવી રીતે છે એના બારામાં. થેન્ક યુ.
ઠીક, આ સાચી વાત છે કે જે વિસિનિટીમાં જે ગામમાં જે અમે રહીએ ને મુસ્તહિક હોય, ઝકાતુલ ફિત્રનો ખાસ મુસ્તહિક કે કઈ ફિકીર જે એનું કાનૂન છે ને કવાયદ જે છે એ ખાસ છે. પણ ખરોખર કે જે સૈયદ સિસ્તાની દમાહદલ્લુ જે કહે છે કે ફર્સ્ટ વી હેવ ટુ સ્પેન્ડ લોકલી. ઠીક, પણ એનો એક જે ક્રાઇટેરિયા છે કે એનો ડ્યુ ડિલિજન્સ હોવો જોઈએ, કે અમને ખબર છે બે ડ્યુ ડિલિજન્સ છે કે એક તો મુસ્તહિક છે ને બીજો ઇઝ ઓન ધી ઓનર્સ ઓફ ધી જમાત to pay it in time. Yes, it is between, specifically on the day of Eid, before the time of dhuhr, yes, and specifically this angle. Ne pellathi agar apportion karo hoy to it is in the intention of loan, and then it has to be changed the intention. E je sawal ani jawab Q&A document che, e World Federation bo fine rite e lokao last year ne enathi વર્ષ પહેલા એ અમે પાછું we will circulate this. ને અગર અપડેટ પણ છે વર્લ્ડ ફેડરેશન તરફથી તો અમે પાછું આજ જે છે amongst our membership to re-emphasize ભાર રાખીએ કે આ સવાલને જવાબને લેટેસ્ટ ફિક રૂલિંગ છે. એનું પ્રોસેસ જે છે કે વર્લ્ડ ફેડરેશન હું એક ચીજ હું I will have to say fantastic. They send money in advance. કેવી રીતના સેન્ડ કરે છે? Through needs assessment પહેલાથી. પણ જે તે હું કીધું કે નિયત, how you change it. અને આવા needs assessmentમાં બહુ ઇમ્પોર્ટન્ટ છે ને પછી reporting. Yes, netting છે કે at the end it was a surplus or a deficit. That has to be, but they fulfill the obligation, and I am very comfortable with how WF8 does that very nicely. But locally, I cannot answer. That is for you, the jamats, to check. Okay, what is your need in your vicinity? Okay. Hopefully, I answered. But we will take an action to share that last Q&A. Ne agar pachi update che to e pan inshallah ame pahan ane mokalsu badaine inshallah. Hasan.
Hassan, thank you. Is there any final observations or questions on the hardship fund before we move on to the next agenda item? Chief Fayaz Bhai.
Just one suggestion. I know Munir Bhai said about app. To create an app, I think it's a very complicated process, and it takes a lot of due diligence and the work, especially if you're collecting money on card and all that. So that's a good idea. But I'm just thinking in a simpler way, just like Alain does, and they provide those sadaqah boxes. Is there any way we could do a COEJ sadaqah boxes that could be given to every Jamaat member, and then on our 3 monthly executive meeting, the councillors of those Jamaats can make sure those are collected, brought back, and somehow money, sadaqah money, because I'm sure if I look at the amount that...
Fayaz Bhai, are you proposing to head this project?
Again, if I can find a manufacturer, but yeah, I mean... It will be full. They do send people up to the house to collect the boxes as well.
I think in terms of innovation, it's a great outside-the-box idea, but certainly one to consider talking about. I'm not sure we could conclude on it right this second, but certainly worth discussing. So maybe we can pick up on that away from here. Shabir Bhai, before we move on to the next agenda item, Shabir Bhai, and then we'll move to the next item. Hassan.
The app idea is excellent, of course, but that will take some time to create, go through Apple Store, all those. We already have one for Lebanon appeal, right? Can't we use that in the interim?
We can set up on the payment portal itself that there's one, but we are aiming in a two-part solution. We are aiming at, inshallah, on our website to be able to have that where the payment portal is there, which is also not difficult to use in the interim. And why we are putting it together is one of the reasons that Arif Bhai પણ કીધા કે અમે multi-currency નું કરવું છે. સાથે to make Suelaben and Muhammad Kazim's life not miserable, they need to have reports which comes in properly. Back-end system વધારે time લાગે છે compared to the app. But we have good news. તજુરબો છે અમારા પાસે છે. એ નથી કે અમે 5 વર્ષ પહેલા શરૂ કરી છે. હમણાં લાસ્ટ 5 વર્ષમાં અમારા પોતાના કમ્યુનિટીમાં છે આ ટેલેન્ટ ને અમે કરી શકીએ છીએ. એટલે આટલું બધું કામ છે thoroughly robust. But it is not that you start off with an open season completely, badai out our proposition. We know there are only a few companies who do this. They do it properly. We are not going to reinvent the wheel, but we will make it such that it is our European angle. It becomes like a way. And in that way also capital project hoy, nawa jamaat hoy, to ame આ પણ ઇસ્તેમાલ કરી શકે. ઈદ ઉલ ફિત્ર હોય તો એ અમે કરી શકીએ છીએ, કુરબાની હોય એ પણ કરી શકીએ છીએ, મલ્ટિપલ ચીજ કે we can do it. Okay. એ આમાં કાંઈ ઓલું નથી. But at the same time I'm also very key that we don't want to disrupt. કે અમારું membership જે છે ને, membership એટલે grassroots membership vis-a-vis their jamaats, that line of how collection is happening in the jamaat should also be there. You understand me? Okay, આ બહુ important છે because COEJ does something and then the jamaats feel કે આ તો કેવી રીતના બધું પૈસા, we had also plans of doing this or that. We will be very cognizant. Okay? Inshallah. Asad.
Mahbub bhai?
Just two questions. I know Arif Bhai said about accepting euros. Maybe we should consider crypto as well. But that's not my main question. A very simple question for Munir Bhai. When an applicant comes directly to COEJ because they don't go through their jamaat, do you consult the jamaat as part of your due diligence?
Yes, in the sense that they have to go via the jamaat. If they don't go to the jamaat, then I need to know why, and then I ask the permission that, you know, we have as part of due diligence, will be making inquiry. So the one case that I discussed, that went directly, I did discuss with the two welfare team members of the jamaat of this individual. So we try to get sort of intelligence as to why they are not going to the jamaat and whether the need is there or not. You have to, because the reason is that they might not want to go to jamaat and might be getting something from the jamaat, so there might be duplication. So it's always important to go back to the jamaat. And part of diligence is you have to ask for permission to do some digging.
Yeah, thank you.
Dr. Jiwa?
Following this question about if individual applies for hardship loan, hardship fund, sorry, my mistake. If the individual has to be a COEJ, a member of a jamaat, that's my first question. Yes. Now the person would be applying to you individually, not coming through the jamaat, maybe possibility that he doesn't want to expose themselves to jamaat. They don't want jamaat to know about their financial condition. In that case, what will be your due diligence process? Because then you cannot go to jamaat welfare. Would you be looking for any, I'm just finishing the question, would you be looking would you be looking to any references, of a couple of references, or what would be your way of proceeding then?
I'm fortunate that my network is good. So even if I don't go to Jamaat directly, I can still go to people and get some background of individuals. Yeah? You don't have to ask the reason, because you can ask for background of somebody. It could be that you are asking for matchmaking. Yeah, you can ask chokro che, chokri che. They don't know why you are asking something. Yeah, so you can ask that university something. There are means and ways to find out things, but there need to be a very strong reason why they don't want to go to the Jamaat. Yeah, that's the reason. So you look in any such grant or sadqa, there will be some people who will play the system. Yeah, and you can't sort of police it 100%. It's then they're conscious, and as long as you don't done your diligence, then we go by that.
While Dr. Saab is asking, if there are any other questions, put your hands up so we note how many is, so we also know. Okay. If they can write up how many there are, so we know. So at the moment there is only one question after Dr. Saab and one from observers as well who would like to do. Thanks.
Coming back to Dr. Munir, to this process and procedure, say an individual is from Europe, where you may not have that close contacts. That's why they don't want to go to Jamat. They could be thrown into Malta, Switzerland. Many different Jamats. So many different Jamats. What I was suggesting was that would it be a good idea to ask them for a couple of references, whom they have to be references, whom they actually have confidence that those people are not going to spread word around, but that those people have to be known to the community, reputable, credible people. I'm just suggesting to you, would it help us the process?
Sorry, is it okay to speak? If I'm not mistaken, the previous form, I've not seen the new one, but the previous form was very clear in that your information will be shared with the Jamaat, etc., and there is that disclaimer. I personally feel, I mean, I don't know, you probably know best, it's going to be incredibly rare for anyone to come to you direct. And in that moment, prior to this team, we did have a Imam Reza Hardship Fund task force, and we looked at some of these scenarios. And if I'm not mistaken, a call was made to Sheikh Hilli, and he said, look, if you are using Sadaqah funds, of course you have a responsibility, but the threshold is so low that if somebody tells you that they need, that's the only thing that you need to say, that's the only thing that they need to say, and you should give. I'm not saying that we should be laxed. Of course, there are people that will play the system, the game, etc. But we should also understand that even to come to somebody and ask for money is so embarrassing. So I think you should, if anyone comes to you individually, let's assess them individually and perhaps give them that husn zan and allow them to claim. And then if there is a continuous, one of the things that we need in our community is trust. People should be able, if they can't come to the Jamaat for whatever reason, they are embarrassed, etc., they should have that second option to say, look, I'm embarrassed to come to the Jamaat, but let me go to COEJ. At least there's someone there to help me lend a hand. That makes sense.
Yes. For Imam Reza Hardship Fund or for such initiative, if you ask the Jamaat to do the due diligence, please, it's very important for us to give us the rule to apply for this due diligence. For example, to be sure that same rules are applied from one Jamaat to the other. To be sure that, for example, what is the maximum duration for this help? Can we, even if we select somebody, we say that this person is eligible according to the criteria, what is the maximum duration for that? So it's very important for us to have this criteria and rules.
So we have the last question now, and this is from Brother Fazli Abba. Bismillah. And then Dr. Saab, if you can answer them.
Assalamu alaikum. What I wanted to understand is, Dina, my name is Fazli Abbas Okera. Okay. Regarding this fund, and when it was rolled out, my own personal experience of it was we were reactive. We were not proactive. For people who are facing a lot of hardship at that time. But individual Jamaats did not come forward and present a hardship fund of their own. And hence, families had to sort of join the wagon and come to COEJ. But what I would have loved to see is individual jamaats being proactive, number one, in having more of these so that it is not a one-off, and number two, to follow up based on the fact that we have £180,000 that has been dispersed. What follow-up procedure do we have to ensure that we actually help those families that have received something to understand why are they in this hardship? What is it that has resulted in them asking for £500? And is £500 enough? Should it have been 5,000, for example? Who came up with the 500 figure? Was it enough? I can tell you that based on my own personal experience, to the few that I've spoken to, 500 was not enough. So those families are still in hardship, and they are members of our jamaats. We need a follow-up on whether they are still in hardship and systems in place to ensure that we are not reactive, we are proactive. Thank you.
Thank you, Fazil Abbas. Thank you, Shani Abbas. Rizwan Bhai. So Shani, I take on board it's a good idea to ask for reference, but then it contradicts actually what Abbas Bhai is saying, that the threshold for sadaqah need to be really low, because if somebody is coming forward, so, and Abbas Bhai, you talk about task force, that it's not a task force, but there's a group that has been formed by Rizwan Bhai. You are part of that group, yeah? Yeah. But we haven't been proactive enough to call for a Zoom meeting and set up the criteria and revisit the document which was done. And Rizwan Bhai jata mikida ke actually this was discussed in the last EC as well, ke the onus is on the Jamaat to do the diligence, and then because they are closer to the members, and the threshold is very, very, very low, because it's sadqa na faida che. And what Fazle was said, puchine what I go, kaun what he was saying is that this is, so hardship fund is a stopgap. It is just trying to help person or community or family to go through the rough time, but then there is another part of it which is economic upliftment that needs to go hand in hand to bring them up. I don't know whether this is part of this your report this time or not, but it's part of the stream that Arif Bhai had presented as part of his manifesto. But a follow-up that he said is right. And unfortunately, this cannot be done at the COEJ level, but I'm sure the follow-up is being done at different Jamaat level, but I understand the capacity at Jamaat is not. First of all, so I was answering to your question, yeah, about the follow-up. And this, some Jamaat are doing, some Jamaat lack resources. They don't do it. And plus, if the number is very high, but it's a good idea of following up. But what you missed out was, as part of the manifesto of Arif Bhai, is economic upliftment. So this is a stopgap, but in the long run, you need to bring those family up. And what are the ways? So this is a separate stream that is running side by side. I think I've answered all the question, yeah?
Actually, it is not a separate one. It is one ingredient within that. And no, this is a very important point. We have not come into office on the way of saying that we make everything new. I want to pay tribute to the previous team who came up with, during difficult time, with an amazing Imam Reza hardship fund. Okay? What can be better than in the name of the 8th Imam to actually have such a fund? Look how passionate everyone is around this. It is useful for people. What I instead am saying, how do we expand on it? And how do we then think about, through the 2050 vision, how is the demographic situation of our communities? How do we change on a mid-term basis versus a long-term basis? Okay? So we shouldn't think that a hardship fund is the solution to remove poverty. A hardship fund is to stop gap, I like that, that's a very good, is to be able to say those who are in the most difficult situation. Our Aimma alayhimus salam, when they worked, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in the time of Medina as well as in Kufa, had a clear part about having sadaqah system, but also infrastructure upliftment so that people can work in a different way. So this is not going to be fixed directly, but there are multiple streams which we will have to work on together to reach that. Thank you.
Hassan, thank you very much. That now brings us on to the next agenda item, which is the unified salat timings. And we are honored to have with us Dr. Shahid Merali, who is going to present to us on the project that is ongoing. If we could welcome him with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
While my very dear friend, who actually is multi-talented, Dr. Shahid is coming up, I want to speak very quickly and say that Sajjad Bhai, who heads the Hilal committee, this is an example of basically how the Hilal committee pushed, and you can see multiple jamats, Birmingham and vicinity and London working together. So I just want to say, Sajjad Bhai, thank you for pushing in this way, and really nice to have a talent from our community in multiple fields. Ahsan, bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum. The first thing I'd like to say is thank you very much for the invitation. And I recognize that I'm in a room filled with the leaders and the visionaries of the community. So I recognize the privilege I have right now. I also recognize you probably spent the last many hours in lots of discussions. And I can see I don't have everyone's eyes with me. I'll make you a deal. I'll speak for 10 minutes or less. And in return, can I ask that let's leave the screens and the phones and the laptops just for a few minutes. And then perhaps we can have a discussion if that's what you wish. So today I'd like to share with you a story. This story it begins about 15 years ago. I haven't got this clicker working. Thank you. So this story begins about 15 years ago. Think back to the thirsty, hot month of Ramadan that we had in the peak of the summer. And at that time, I remember hearing a story and a description from Jafar Uncle Daramsi. And he gave a talk on how he used to, decades and decades ago, look and made multiple observations from Portsmouth to determine the time of Fajr. Incredible dedication that he undertook, which is used by many of our communities today in their Fajr timetables. And I was struck by this. And so a friend of mine in Birmingham was scouting for places to look for the time of Fajr. And he invited me, he took me one day, early in the morning. It's dark, it's still, it's quiet, and you're looking out on the horizon to see the time of Fajr. And it's a fantastic experience. And so today's story I want to share with you is one that starts off thinking about unity, and then thinking through to leadership, and then thinking through to impact. Because in the summer, 15-ish years ago, I saw the timetables of different mosques in the same postcode in Birmingham. And there's like a 45-minute difference. This made me feel annoyed. It made me feel frustrated. Also, it made me feel quite disappointed with our community that there is such disunity on a pivotal matter. A pivotal matter because Salah, that unifies every single one of us. And then beyond that, this is the time of Fajr, the first prayer of the day. But it also delineates, of course, the time when the fast commences as well. And I thought, we're not getting this right. And so, of course, there's unity on this matter, isn't there? There's consensus from the Quran And whilst I'm also sharing Ayatollah Sistani's law on this matter, amongst all schools of thought, there is unity on the time of Fajr. So I thought, we're doing something wrong. So a group of us got together, and amongst our team we thought, how are we going to address this? And when I tell you the answer, it's going to seem so simple and so obvious. What we did is that we set up a camera to take photographs every single minute, every single day. And then we worked with every single mosque in Birmingham. We took them along on this journey. And when we had a full years of data, we wrote, in those days it was by paper. So we wrote a postal letter. I think there were about 80 mosques in Birmingham at the time, and invited every single one of them to take part to form a consensus panel. And we also invited scholars, both religious scholars and scientific scholars, to create a consensus panel to look at each day when there was perfect weather. These are the kinds of pictures that we got. This is an image just of one picture. It has a beautiful image of the entire sky, looking directly above and then throughout, north, east, south, and west. And this is a video where I've taken every single picture, minute by minute, and put it very quickly together onto a loop. And you'll see here how you can see how the sky changes from dark, and then you see that spread of light on the east. And then you take each photo, you go back by back and forwards, and you can actually see and identify the very minute when Fajr occurs. And then we took every single photograph as we were taking them and made it available for the whole world to see. Completely transparent, completely open. And this is the key of this project. It's an open data project with collaborative leadership. And the consensus panel looked at every single day, made a determination of when Fajr was on that day, and then we commissioned a statistician to formulate a best fit line through that, and then create a timetable. And that was it. The impact of this project was huge. This is a shot from BBC World News, who featured on this. In fact, the background is at Hujjat Stanmore, because they invested in a camera too. I was interviewed on BBC Radio 4, featured in the Sunday Times, and lots of other online articles, Smithsonian, The Muslim Vibe. And this is a press release from Birmingham Central Mosque, who called together a conference, and they were pivotal in this story. They called together a conference and had representation from all the major mosques in Birmingham, and they made a consensus decision to adopt this timetable. This is going back 10 years. The impact of this was that at that time, about 150,000 Muslims from that moment would pray their Fajr prayer at the same time. All those mosques would perform the adhan at the same time. Everybody would commence their fasts at the same time. And that's a very conservative estimate of numbers. The population in the last 10 years of Muslims in Birmingham has grown significantly. And so it made me think, maybe this group has similar, in some ways, similar scope, similar appeal, similar strength to what Birmingham Central Mosque did. So I've come here today with two opportunities for you all. Okay? The first is to think what Hujjat have done recently. Okay? Now, as we look at the map, there isn't much latitudinal spread that's this way between all of our cities. I'm speaking specifically about England for now, but I can expand upon that. I use the word latitudinal on purpose. If people are interested, please ask me why, either just after or on the sidelines. But there isn't much difference between us. And so, because we have observational, accurate data from Birmingham, we can apply that to other cities. Looking at the difference in sunrise times between Birmingham and other cities, let's take, for example, London, we've been able to calculate a prayer timetable for London to use. And just because of that little bit of difference, we've included an extra minute additional for Fajr, just for precaution, and removed a minute as well the other side for Imsak, just again for precautionary purposes. Now, we could do this again for Essex, we could do it for Gloucester, do it for Wessex, do it for Peterborough, here in Leicester, up in Leeds, and in Milton Keynes. In fact, I've come here with a gift for you all today. Yesterday I prepared for every single city in our COEJ membership a timetable for you all. I'll leave it with Zuhair for you to collect. So there's one for each one of those cities. I've also included the Paris Jamats to north and south. I'm not certain if we can extend it that far, but what I would both recommend, and maybe it's a little bit of challenge to you all today, is take this timetable, share it amongst your teams, amongst your Jamats, ask people to make some observations, quality assure it, and see if this timetable is a more accurate representation of the formula that's used to calculate your Jamats. And I say it a little bit like a challenge too, because I suspect that this timetable is more accurate than your current timetable. So I'll leave that with you all. The second opportunity I offer to you is that as I think about this, you know, when I started off this project 10 years ago, I thought that was it. I'm happy. 150,000+ Muslims performing Fajr at the same time, I think that's a good impact. But this project still has legs, and I'm here with you all 10 years after. My goal now is to try and find out a formula, a magical formula which we can use to determine Fajr timetables throughout our whole region, throughout our whole continent. I would prefer not just to focus on the hundreds of thousands, but on the millions of Muslims who could be united on a method to determine Fajr. And perhaps you all hold a key to doing so. Because at the moment, our camera has gone quite far. It's gone up to Yorkshire, and we've got 2 years of data from Yorkshire. A couple of brothers from Finland asked to use our camera. We sent it up to them. They couldn't quite find a good location to use it for. We sent it down to Paris. Again, similar challenges, finding a good location. Now it's in Essex, with some beautiful opportunities for views overlooking the sea. And I wonder if we have the network to set up cameras in Paris, in Switzerland, maybe even in Stockholm. Maybe amongst this group we have people that knows people in the north of Scotland. And by doing that, we can create a better analysis of all the photographs together, and perhaps this group could be one that could unify Muslims across Europe, all Muslims across Europe, on a unified Fajr timetable. Thank you. Thank you for hearing me out. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'm going to hand the mic over to the chair. I invite questions, I invite queries. It might be strange to hear. I invite challenge, I invite critique. I welcome it.
That's just Dr. Shahid, not the rest of us, huh? We open the floor, and Assant Doctor.
Whilst questions are coming up and you put up your hands, I'm going to put up a specific challenge. First of all, thank you very much, Brother Shahid. Can I ask you, is this only a Fajr timetable, or is there other days or other parts of the day, Maghrib for example, included or not?
This timetable is specifically for Fajr. I do have thoughts about how Maghrib could be resolved, but I think let's stick to the Fajr discussion for now. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to, when I look around this room, we have Stockholm present here, Master. We have Trollhättan, which is further to the west. We have contacts in Oslo. In Scotland, we have contact both in Glasgow and Aberdeen. And Aberdeen, mind you, is very clean and clear sky towards the coast, which is not so much pollution. And we also have Lisbon Jamat as well, further to the west and south. And I think, you know, I'm going to just say that this is an opportunity which can actually, if you heard very carefully, can be done in 2 phases. He's given us a gift with a timetable to look at, but he's a bit too humble. Jafar Bhai Dharamsi has also done due diligence on this. And he also believes that the extrapolation is very tangible and correct. So at least for the UK Jamaats, at least the English Jamaats here, there's nothing which stops us. Okay? So this is where COEJ can be at its best. I wouldn't like to leave this meeting without at least come to a commitment to do this. Because if something is empirically tested, and you saw Agha's point, whiteness which has been observed, this is not only observed by camera, but there's also a very tangible way. So I just wanted to leave that. Sorry, I'm imposing on time because you want to ask questions, but I don't want only a Q&A session. I would like to come to a action as well, inshallah. Asantu. Thank you.
Will you direct questions or shall I? Please.
First, I want to congratulate you for everything you've done, and also I want to thank you for working on Paris. I just want to give a few updates on Paris regarding this, and maybe Sujat Bhai can complete what I'm saying. We also had some issues regarding the Fajr time and Maghrib time as well, so we were struggling with that. And just for everyone to know, we visited in a very small committee the Marja himself, and we discussed with him. We were like 4 or 5, I don't remember now, but we discussed with him the degrees for Fajr and the redness in the sky for Maghrib and so on. And this is why I think, and this is one more point to understand why he's such an outstanding person, because he discussed with us about degrees and he replied to us about so many technical things, so it was amazing. And now in Paris we have we agreed, all association, we agreed on the timings for Salat. So yes, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for your work. I have some question. You said that you are looking for a unique formula that thanks to this formula you can you can have the time everywhere in Europe at least. So you say that you extrapolate the Fajr time with the sunrise in every town and the Fajr time you have in Birmingham. Thanks to that, you have you find a time. But do you have a degree that from this observation? For example, we adopted in Paris Leva Institute of Qom period timing. So I don't remember, it's 16 degree for Fajr angle or 15? No, 15 or 16 or so. And we know that, for example, Tehran calculation is 17.7 degree and something like that. So have you extrapolate some degree, and thanks to that you extrapolate your timing in other country, or this is only the difference between sunrise time in every town? That's the first question. Second question, you talk about 18 mosques in Birmingham. 80. Okay. So I think there is also Sunni mosque and they all have the same rule about Fajr time. Okay, thank you. And I don't have any more questions, I think.
The second question I'll just address here, yes, there's consensus on how Fajr is determined, and I think this is an opportunity for us to lead a project that impacts all Muslims. Now, for your first question, you are asking about using only an angle to determine Fajr. Can I have the presentation back on the screen? Would that be okay? I can appreciate why you're saying this. When we look at all the data for the time of Fajr, it does not meet a fixed angle of depression. It does not. I'm just gonna, I only have about 10 minutes left. So I would have shown you an animation, but I can do so after, if you wish. Okay. Our timetable does not match a fixed angle of depression. I understand why equatorial countries do this. And I think that you have made you're at risk of a publication bias. You're using research from an equatorial country, like Iran, where fixed angles do work. And now you're applying that to our northern latitudes, where they do not work. And as we plot our degrees of depression over time, the formula does not work. So I'm a little bit concerned by your decision to use a fixed angle, whether it's 17 or anything else for a time of Fajr. The reason for this is that in our northern latitudes, the relative path of the sun, as it creates the effect of Fajr before sunrise, it's the actual trajectory of the sun that illuminates the atmosphere. And throughout the different seasons in our northern latitudes, that changes day by day. If we were in an equatorial country, it follows a very similar pattern every single day, regardless of season. But the seasons impact us here in our northern latitudes. So I would caution you against using a fixed angle of depression, and invite you just to critique and quality assure the timetables are produced for Paris for that reason.
Just to understand, the curve you are showing is the difference between two type of timing. One is based on angle only, and one with your praying time.
That's correct. Difference between observational and calculated using an angle of depression. Now, a formula I would be looking to determine actually uses it uses a few factors. It uses latitude. It uses season. It'll probably use angle of depression. It'll probably also include the equation of time. And using all those different factors together will determine that universal formula, which I've been trying to find for many years and I've not been able to. But I think different data from throughout the continent will be able to help us to do so. But in the meantime, I just ask that you perhaps review and maybe quality assure your timetable for a fixed angle of depression. Even fixed angle of depressions have not been used in England for the World Federation COEJ timetables. What they were using was a hybrid. Throughout most of the year, they used to use this 1/7 of a day before sunrise. And then at certain times throughout the year, it reverted to a fixed angle of depression. But it was never on either or of those throughout the whole year. It was a hybrid. Thank you. Any other questions, please?
Just a couple of questions, and this is just to make sure that I didn't nod off when you were talking about it, although I was quite interested in what you were saying. The data that you have in a printed form, that is based on your 2016 observations. Is this ready to adapt? So I'm talking purely from Milton Keynes' point of view. We have been caught in various dilemmas as to which timings should we adapt. So if we were to take those those are ready to adapt. Yeah.
So let me just answer this straight away. Yeah, they are based on the 2016 data. The thing about the Fajr is that the relative path of the sun around the earth is the same year on year.
Yeah.
So data from one year can be used to another year.
Okay.
So that I just wanted to address that firstly. And secondly, yes, in how I described for actually moving and extrapolating these timetables, you could take that timetable and implement it today.
So my second question, a follow-up, I will definitely take the hard copy. Is that available in a soft copy?
Of course. Email me, I'll share the files, and you can then see how it's been calculated.
No, we are just interested in implementing it.
Yeah, sure.
I don't want to go into the technicalities.
My email address, shahid@merali.co.uk. shahid@merali.co.uk.
Yeah.
Email me, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, if we can ask or request the media to put it on the screen, and then we'll just take that. Thank you very much.
Sure.
When you've obviously done some comparisons from yours, so is there a difference between your timetable that you've produced and, for example, the Imam Ali Foundation timetable?
Yes, and one of the critiques of the Imam Ali website, Imam Ali Foundation website, najaf.org, is similarly using, for some cities, fixed angles of depression. So the same comments I had for our brothers in Paris, I'm making a similar comment.
Okay, because we used to, in Leeds, used Jafar Ramsey's initial, but there was about half an hour difference. And then so when you share the time, when you share the soft, if you can also show the calculations, because then it'll be very easy to explain to people if we shift why we've moved on to that.
The spreadsheets I prepared for you, there's one for Leeds.
Yes.
It does show all the columns as to how it's been calculated. If you email me, you'll have it all digitally too. This is, for example, a comparison between the original Birmingham timetable that used that hybrid method. In some parts of the year, 1/7 of daylight hours subtracted from sunrise, and in some parts of the year, it was a fixed angle of depression. And they were, sometimes there was hardly any difference, and at some point there was significant difference.
It's mostly in summertime that I saw.
Actually, this one, the summer times were more similar for the original Birmingham timetable. It was actually around the equinoxes that there was the bigger difference. And similarly, winter was fairly similar. Equinoxes are the September and March times. So September and October time, September and March times, yeah. You'll also see big differences in the fixed angles of depression throughout different times, and sometimes those are around the solstices, the summer and the winter.
Assalamu alaikum, Shahid. Just was listening to Rasul about the timings, Fajr time, and Jafar Bhai Dharamsi's time. Is there a lot of difference between those times?
So Jafar Uncle's work then was used to develop this formula that was used for different mosques, all our different mosques. The 1/7 of daylight hours subtracted from sunrise at some times in the year, and then a fixed angle at other times of the year. And that is the graph that compares the Birmingham one. So yes, there are differences.
Have you shared this, your timetable with Jafar Bhai?
Yes.
And does he agree with this one?
Jafar Uncle came to Birmingham, to Birmingham Jamat before it was implemented.
Yeah, because I remember the times we used to go with Jafar Bhai early in the morning and to observe the whiteness. But as far as I just wanted to find out that Jafar Bhai does agree with these timings.
In fact, that recording from the mosque in Birmingham is still available on the mosque's YouTube channel.
Thank you very much.
Please. Is this one here? Oh, it's not working.
Thank you very much, Shahid, for the beautiful presentation. Inshallah, we are looking on the south end. Inshallah, we should soon be putting the camera up. And then we'll also obviously be able to extrapolate more for London to make sure that the timings are correct. Jafar Bhai I have had a conversation with him in the past, and he has been very comfortable with his timetable. The only thing he said that we need to put one camera in Aberdeen and one probably in Portsmouth. So in that way, we will be able to have a proper sort of quality control in making sure that the timings are correct as far as UK is concerned. But then when this opportunity for Southend came, because they have got such a large community in London, we say that we better try put in Chelmsford, but we didn't get a very good view of the horizon. So we have, alhamdulillah, managed to get in Southend. Inshallah, we'll soon put it up. Mu'min brother has agreed to put it on his house, and inshallah, we should be able to work on it, inshallah.
That's amazing. Thank you for the update. I think just on the point of quality assurance, I agree. The more cameras we can have to do this, the better. And I think that's where the strength of this group could lie. And I would also encourage you, before you do implement any timetables, to again do some quality assurance checks. Like, for example, in Milton Keynes, just do a few spot checks, just to ensure that what you're seeing is accurate to your eyes when you're there too.
Two parts, please. From after hearing all the questions, the enthusiasm parts, I would like to propose something. That for those jamaats who feel comfortable to use this very Fajr timetable, and you say, oh, okay, we have looked at those, we've done some spot checks, or some of you who said we trust directly, I suggest that on the COEJ website, we write up the timetables of the different jamaats. This will also help as a resource. We can put as a, not only the timetable, but also the link to the local jamaat as well. This is a way to be able to create more inter-community when somebody wants to travel, for example. And the suggestion would be that you will have your timetables as is, but you want to change, for example, to that, the subh, the fajr timetable to it. Your namaz timetable will put on COEJ as you opt in. Okay, so we can do that. The other thing I was going to ask a question, from a cost perspective, is it reasonable to say that things have actually dropped in prices and easier to be able to set up of late? And if so, Zuhair Bhai, you have good news, yeah? That who has offered to be the next exco is going to be? Yeah, please. Go.
I can't pronounce it though.
Yeah,
it's Paris North, Cornuve. Cornuve, yes.
Okay, so Mehfil Zainab will be the next place, and I'm just saying that if we have the next exco there, why not also implement and see the scope of setting up the camera, and we can have that as a follow-up. And I just want to see if you all like that, and Banyu as well. There's not a difficult point as well. So you can choose which is the optimal, what is the best, and Shahid Bhai can be there. I just wanted to ask from the cost perspective, how does it look like?
In a real terms perspective, the costs have gone down, because 10 years ago when we bought the camera, it was about £1,000, and I called the manufacturer yesterday, and it's about £1,000, but it's actually for a slightly upgraded camera with a better resolution on the image detector. So £1,000-ish. There are also two cameras, I believe, that are potentially available, because Peterborough Jamaat bought one for use, and then similarly Hujjat bought one too. And I'm sure in liaison with those different Jamaats, they could be possible to be moved elsewhere, whilst the camera from Birmingham is down south.
So if I understand, presently you don't have any camera in Paris, right? And are you willing to do so? And what are the conditions needed to implement these cameras?
2 points. I believe that this works when it's a local, collaborative leadership approach. Because for it to work effectively, each Jamaat will have to liaise with their local mosques and their communities too. So I think this is best run by local Jamaats, firstly. I can provide experience, expertise, statistical analysis, all that kind of stuff, all the software help. But I think the actual running of it and the engagement needs to happen locally. Secondly, you asked about the conditions. Somewhere where, when you look outwards to the east, it's fairly clear, the horizon, where it's not obstructed by buildings, by trees, but you look at it and you see a generally flat horizon. Ideally, not overlooking a city so that you're not being impacted by significant light pollution. And so we had these experiences in Essex just to kind of see what the horizon was. And you want to see a flattish horizon without many trees, buildings. I mean, ideally, if it's the sea, it doesn't have to be. In Paris, you could go out to the slightly east wing of the city and look outwards, and as long as you have that contour, you should be good. If you can see Fajr with your eye, the camera will see it. That's all. So I just ask that you look for that kind of location, make an observation or two, and you can set up your camera.
How long would you have to keep the camera there for?
At least 1 year.
1 year?
At least 1 year, because it changes day by day.
Right.
As I was saying, you can't fix a formula based on a few observations. You need an entire year's worth of observation. If we sent our camera to an observatory site in Yorkshire, so very close to Leeds.
Whereabouts?
I've got the exact quote. It's not far from you.
Okay, so you've already got data for Leeds then.
So for Yorkshire, for Leeds, I think there's, and we left it there for 2 years, and that's because some days it's cloudy, some days it's foggy, but then if you do it over 2 years, you get a lot more data. I have a question here on who analyzes the data. My recommendation is that it's looked at by the human eye, and you use your eyes to look at the photographs day by day. Now, beyond that, there are additional tools we can have. For example, I was working with a professor in Indonesia on this, and he has developed a software tool to be able to identify the first change in light based on software analysis. In fact, it's so good that when it's cloudy, I can't see anything, but the software can detect tiny changes in light and still predict the time of Fajr based on software analysis. I think for the purpose of making it valid, I use that term deliberately, to bring the community together, for them to accept this as a Fajr observation, ideally by the eye. But at the same time, we should also calibrate our observation of the pictures. So throughout the year in your communities, if you do set up a camera, a few times a year in the different seasons, go and make an observation and see if that image that you're seeing with your eye matches the camera. Sure. Last question.
Shahid, my question is to Arif Bhai. Arif Bhai suggested that the COEJ website should have timings for different Jamaats. After listening to Shahid and Sajjad Bhai sitting here, he's been a Hilal committee, and understand the difference between Jafar Bhai and this timetable has been different, but Jafar Bhai has agreed with that one. Now, if a question comes before you put on the website to convince Peterborough Jamaat, because Peterborough Jamaat is usually Fajr time 10 minutes on top of it added, even though all the other Jamaats have got like the timings, but Peterborough is going to be 20 minutes altogether. Even in the Fajr, we have this issue going for ages. So now I was looking at Reza Husayn by sitting here, but I couldn't find him. But I think I will have to take this message to Peterborough Jamaat, and I think other Jamaats may have to decide before we put it on the COEJ, because Jamaat have to agree with this, timetable.
આમાં શું સારું છે કે આ જે પ્રેઝન્ટેશન જે છે ઓનલાઈન છે આ લેસ્ટર વેબસાઇટમાં અમે સ્ટ્રીમ કરી રહ્યા છીએ. સો ધીસ ઇઝ ધેર. Secondly, I would say, tame da'wat aavo. Dr. Shahid will come. He can present to multiple of your forums. Choose. He's a very, amazing presenter. So any Jamaat who would like that, take him up. You see, I'm speaking like on his behalf, yeah, because you can see he's nodding. Yeah, amazing presenter. Anywhere in Europe, I think this is something which is absolute beneficial. It's a low-hanging fruit. And when it comes to £1,000 or €1,000, is this a big number? It's not a big number, okay? So I think we can go with this. Having it on our website again, we should, because one of the things we all felt and resonated is that one person goes to one Jamaat or another Jamaat, we don't know what is the address, who is the resident alim, and definitely what is the prayer timetable which I can trust. So obviously we should have it. And as we go along and we go towards at least, Fajr time conformity or, agreement, we will update the, as we go along, inshallah. Okay? But cameras, I think very much. I'm looking specifically at Ali Asghar Bhai. Up there in Sweden, if we fix one in Sweden, can you imagine that what kind of cross-section you will be able to do? It's half of your problem, half of the problem of Shahr Ramadan will be solved. Of course, we have the midnight angle, which is difficult, but half of the problem in the morning will be very much so. So, and I would say that that Stockholm is significantly east to Trollhättan. But if you capture Stockholm, which is further east, and vertically is further north, then from an extrapolation point of view, you cover something else off as well. Yes? So that's just as an example. Oslo, when you come to the horizontal line, you actually come exactly in between the Gothenburg, Trollhättan and Stockholm. Sorry, I'm going also nerdy now. But that's basically what will be also very interesting. Anyway. Well, happy? Shall we move on, inshallah? Can we have the loudest of salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad?
I'll be all right. Perfect. Thanks. Ahsan. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. My dear trustees, COEJ office bearers, our host Jamaat, Muhammad Bhai Walji, and Leicester management, and observers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So now is the Secretariat update. And whilst there's been a hive of activity, I think it was only right that we start with the Lebanon campaign. So we've witnessed the most harrowing of atrocities across the world in the Middle East. And what really came through is that our people wanted to help. And they wanted to deliver aid into Lebanon. And the truth is, after the initiative came about, what we witnessed was nothing short of incredible. It's worthy of note, though, that the passion and drive, it came from the volunteers, okay? And I'd like to believe that what COEJ were able to achieve was becoming relevant for the people in what they wanted to deliver. So we had people that came to us with their desires of what they wanted to do, and alhamdulillah, we were able to facilitate those desires and become relevant for the general. And once the project got underway, we were able to deliver 2 full 40-foot containers of aid, okay, and raise over £80,000 in aid. Now, I'm pleased to announce those containers have landed in Tripoli. They are awaiting release. I've had confirmation that they are there, okay? And as soon as we're able to share more details in media, we will, and the next steps from there will be to liaise with the partners on the ground, and inshallah, the aid will be distributed.
This means mission accomplished. At least it reached there, which everyone, I want to have the loudest salawat for our amazing community who has delivered this, please.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So I think echoing my earlier words, this came from our volunteers, but you know what? It wasn't easy. I remember at our previous executive meeting in November, I was standing with Brother Kamran in Watford, and we'd put some partitions around this corner of bags and bags of aid. And I think we all remember from our own centers, the phones were off the hook because people wanted collections. I think also what made me really proud was the smaller centers really came through. You know, one of the things that really stuck in my mind was we had a drive for baby milk, and Rasul Bhai, I think you guys were able to raise this massive consignment of baby milk, I think overnight, and the money was raised, nearabouts. And that was incredible to see. But some of this, I think Peterborough were huge as well, in terms of how much aid and goods in kind were coming through from the smaller centers. So it was absolutely incredible. The 2 big hubs were run by, we had Vice President of Haydri Jamat, Shabazz Bhai, and then we had Brother Mushtaba Virani of Birmingham, who were the heads of these hubs and collecting all of the aid. So a massive thank you to them, to the Secretary Generals, the management of all the centers. It was not easy, but inshallah, we pray for abundant thawab for all of you and all of your families. And if we could give them all a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So we have here what we were able to present in terms of our vision and the phases and the phases of implementation that we went through at the last executive meeting. So the first 3 months, which alhamdulillah we have now passed, we were going to establish new board structures and appoint leadership, create operational guidelines for the boards, begin recruitment for key positions, initiate reviews of the Marriage and Family Affairs Initiative, and set up project management frameworks. And in the main, that has been the work that we've been up to over the past few months. We're in that phase 2 area currently as we speak, and inshallah I'll be able to talk a little bit more about that as we go on. Now that was to launch the initial programs, begin implementation of some of the initiatives, establish some items, start community engagement programs, and reviewing items. And that will then move us into phase 3, inshallah. Amazing. So now we've got the boards, and these were the new boards that we created. This was from our vision. We had some great work, and I think to echo something Arif Bhai said earlier, there was some amazing work done before we got here. We were not here to change everything. Where something was really, really good, we were going to retain it. We heard that when we discussed the hardship fund. So we took all the great stuff that was already happening. We had a vision, we had a manifesto, and we had some initiatives, and we were able to really put that all together, keep what we wanted to keep, and create the boards that we've got here. So just to talk through some of the items here, we've got sports. So we've got 3 events that have been signed off with Sister Mariam Datu, and we've also got a MAMT event that will be coming soon. We're just working on the collaboration details, and inshallah that will be announced in due course, and that will be happening in the summer. Education, we've got Camp COEJ 2025, which is hugely oversubscribed. And I think what that tells us is that we need to really develop on the initiatives of camps and what they look like, because we've probably got twice as many children that have missed out than have actually been able to participate in the camp. So I think that tells us something, and all of the fantastic work that Wahida Bhai has been doing. We've then got Dr. Zain Ahmed, who has come through in terms of the youth initiatives. And just to touch on something that Rasul Bhai was saying earlier about the podcast, the reason I wasn't overly concerned is because there is some fantastic ideas coming through in terms of what we do with podcasts moving forward. And we're able to, inshallah, get that under a new brand initiative. Seniors, we've got Iqbal Bhai and Nasima Bhai Kareem who have gotten started with determination. Inshallah, myself and Arif Bhai will be traveling to Peterborough tomorrow, where some of the leaders of the senior groups across the continent will be traveling to be there tomorrow. And also Dr. Munir will be traveling with us also. Hajj, Muhammad Kazim Balu. Where is Muhammad Kazim Bhai? Oh, here he is. His experience in the area of Hajj needs no introduction. And so inshallah, a Hajj seminar is planned very, very soon. The Islamic board is the largest board, and as expressed at the last Executive Council meeting, rightly so, and so it should be. And we've got some huge strides there in terms of what we've just heard in the amazing presentation from Dr. Shahid Mirali. So that was the Hilal section of that. We've got Reza Husayn by Rahim, who's doing some fantastic work and reaching out to Jamats at the moment to get representatives for the interfaith work that we want to do. We've had, myself and Arif had an incredible conversation with Sheikh Miqdad Alidina only, I think, a few days ago about Islamic life coaching and what that could look like for us and what we're going to be doing. And it was great to see actually that there's going to be some real cross-fertilization between different boards and departments, because he's there full of ideas of how he can support mediation, marriage, family, parenting. That actually falls into probably a few different initiatives and boards all at the same time. We've then got Qari, which Rabbi Juma is here. And I'm not actually sure where to start because the work rate has been incredible. So I think in the space of a week or two, we had new logos, new initiatives. We've launched the online competition, which I think as of the last hour is sitting at 141. Was that the last number? 141 participants have registered for that online competition, where I think the majority, I want to say close to 70% of participation is coming from within COEJ. Yeah? So for that, salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Next to Sister Sabira by Juma, we have Sister Zainab, who is here leading the European Madaris Council. And there's some incredible work planned in that section in terms of how we operate for our Madaris, how we train our teachers, how we're able to feed back on the curriculums that are coming in and what kind of part we play. And inshallah, she'll be assisted by Brother Fazli Abbas Okera, who is sitting just here with Arif Bhai. We then move on to the financial department, and we've heard from Muhammad Kazim Bhai about property investments and what that's going to look like. And there was an interesting stat, and I'm just going to ask Muhammad Kazim Bhai, the gift aid maximization. You gave us a stat the other day, but I can't remember it. Something about how much we've raised in gift aid in the last 3 months versus the last 12 months. But I think it was fair to say what we've raised since the initiative has started over the last 3 or 4 months has been a dramatic increase versus what we've done over the last 12 months. Now, gift aid maximization is one of the initiatives that we have as part of the financial boards department. We've then got enterprise. And to Arif Ali Bhai's point, the LDP is here to stay. It's not here to, it's not been dismantled, it's not been dissolved. The LDP is going to be back, and it's going to be back inshallah in November. But it's going to come back with a bit of a change and a bit more refinement. So we're wanting it to have some Islamic leadership qualities and to have a foundation there in that way. And inshallah there'll be more details on that coming soon. The women's board is going very, very well. Rehana Bai is really strong values-based vision, as she did prior to us coming into office. She continues with that, and I think inshallah there is an event planned for I want to say tomorrow, and that is in Hujjat. And has been advertised across all Jamats. And then finally we have outreach, okay? And we've heard about it already. We had the assisted dying bill, and that was fantastic. And then the letter that we wrote on the detainment of Fatima Zainab Rajwani, I think the traction around that was incredible. We've actually seen, just so just so there's clarity on this, there has been multiple members who took the template and wrote to their MPs, and they've had a personal response back from those members of parliament, and we've had those letters come back to us. We've also had a response from the prison service on the same topic. So this is about making a difference and becoming relevant and representing the views of the people on the ground, yeah? In terms of Secretariat initiatives then, end of life palliative care. Dr. Munir? Yeah, if you could. So Dr. Munir has been heading up, along with Dr. Skena Bahiji, on the palliative care and Dr. Kamar Abbas initiative. And there's lots of work that's been done on this, but I'll let Dr. Munir tell you about it.
So, Assalamu alaikum. Are you taller than I am? So, most of you, in fact, all of you, should know about this drive because all of you got an email from Zuhair. Yes? Email? Zuhair? You email all of them? We wanted a champion from each Jamaat? Yeah, so all of you should know, and I hope all of you have given a name, which you haven't. So we are at the end of life palliative care strategy and plan. We are at phase 1, which is awareness campaign to let the community know what palliative care is all about. And the second phase will be to discuss the documents as well as people to understand what it is and what services are available. There's a myth about end of life when one of our relatives is prescribed morphine. We think that's it. The person has been left to die. That's not true. A doctor prescribing morphine does not mean that you are going to die. It's just part of a plan. So this is all in the pipeline, but the first phase is informing the community what it is about, and that's why we requested a champion, a representative from each Jamaat, who will be then coached by the team, guided by the team, and that person will be the one who will be delivering information to the community members. We have also got ulama scholars in the team, because there will be discussion on do not resuscitate forms when we sign. Do not resuscitate, what does it mean? There's also a discussion about switching off the ventilator. So this all has been started, but the first phase is getting champions from the Jamaat. There was a meeting last night with the scholars who we discussed, and we are requesting them that wherever they go for majalis this Ramadan, they should be discussing end-of-life palliative, so at least people are aware of it. So what I can say is watch the space, but it is you who will be delivering it, because it is your team member who will be delivering it to your community. But we have got Kamar Abbas, Professor Kamar Abbas, who is the medical director of a hospice palliative team. He's been there for 25 years. This Essex team thing that he's a member of Essex, but he's actually a member of COEJ.
Thank you, Doctor. Marriage board. So just a bit of an update on this one. So unfortunately, Sister Saima will no longer be able to continue working on this project due to her family commitments. And I want to take a moment, though, to thank her for all her hard work. The Shia Alchemy project that she was working on, clearly when looking into it, a very commendable project. A lot of hard work gone into it. And when myself and Brother Kazim met with her, there was clearly a lot of work and a lot of ideas going on in the background, but there wasn't really a lot of infrastructure in place, and it wasn't a big team. So actually all of that work was being done by Sister Saima on her own. So I think really worthy of note there, and a huge thank you to her for all of that hard work. As a result, however, we're looking to appoint someone to take over the initiative in terms of marriage and family altogether. There is a couple of people interested in looking at the digital angle, which is the actual website or the app or whatever that ends up being once, as we continue to evaluate it. Shia Alchemy on its own wasn't ready when we started to evaluate in its optimum state to just be switched on. Okay, there's still quite a lot of work there in the background for us to be able to complete before we're able to move forward with it. So we're already in conversations with people who would like to move forward with this project. Inshallah, if anyone wants to join that, then please do reach out. And as we say, we're now in the process of looking to see who can take the entire initiative of marriage forward. And obviously the digital angle falls underneath that as a part. Within recognition of excellence and brand, I believe Shabir Bhai, there's some work going on with regards to mokibs and what we can do there. And also for the AGM, we'll be introducing multiple areas of awards and recognition for excellence within our community. Hardship we've heard on, in great detail earlier, so I won't really touch on that. With regards to the Vision 2050 rather, we will be focusing on the initiative towards the end of the year and into 2026. And then we've also heard a little bit from Arif Bhai today about intercom and what that's going to look like as well. Okay. We've then got some upcoming activities. So we've got Camp COEJ 2025, which we know about. Qari Save the Date. So we've got the retreat booked for the 19th and 20th of April. We've got the competition coming up. We've got the event tomorrow in Hujjat. And we also need to get some mentors in place. And that's on the next page. Yeah. Oh, and yes, in terms of applying for mentors, I've reached out to Sujad Bhai as well, and we'd like some mentors from the French, from the French Jamats and from the continent in general, so that we get a good mix from our across COEJ, but we've spoken on this, inshallah. So here's the vision ahead that we presented to the general and to the trustees after our November meeting. And alhamdulillah, it's good to see actually now that we can, the way that this has been done, there's a lot of green on there, a lot more green than there was before. So actually, you can see that we're in a good place, alhamdulillah. So, in terms of national policy, Mehboob Bhai Dosa has taken the lead councillor role within that area. In terms of education, Sujad Bhai has reached out and had real passion for this area and will be lead councillor there. On the financial boards, we've got Adil Kachwala for property investments and Ali Abbas Bhai Virani for gift aid maximization. Yeah. Of Leicester, yes. Family hardship, Fayaz Bhai Haji, councillor, and Abbas Bhai Manji, councillor. And of course, they'll be supporting with Dr. Mir and Rizwan Bhai, who was here a little bit earlier today. In terms of intercom, we've got Dr. Husayn Jiwa, Mehboob Bhai Dosa, and Shabir Bhai Merali as terms of the councillors. And then marriage, we've had confirmed Sheikh Mujahid Ali Sharif as the councillor there as well. So inshallah, there is some great stuff happening, and we can see where there is some gaps left where we're either halfway there, or there's some unconfirmed positions, and those are positions that of course still need filling. So if there is anyone that wants to get involved or that has a conversation they want to have about this, then of course please reach out, and we're happy to have those conversations. There we go. So inshallah, you've all seen that there was a poster that went out for an operations manager, and alhamdulillah, the response has been overwhelming. We had quite a few applications just in the space of the first 48 hours, and they've continued to come through from there. And as we've probably seen, not just from the announcements today, but in terms of how it's probably felt, the activity at COEJ has gone up, right? So we're feeling a lot busier. There is a lot more happening, and so the workload continues to increase, and it's become too much for one person to handle. And after discussions among the office bearers, we've collectively decided that it's become time that we need to bring someone in. Now, having said all of that, I wanted to take a moment to say a huge thank you to Brother Azhar Jamil and Sister Sayeda Ramtullah. I can see Brother Azhar is sitting at the back there. We've also got Brother Ramzan Ali as well. And a huge thank you for all the hard work that they're doing, because Marcom, Secretariat, bookkeeping, it doesn't happen on its own, and there's phone calls at all times of the evening. It's not particularly sociable, so there's a lot of hard work going on there. And so if we could honor them with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And that brings us on to our upcoming meetings. It's not so much of a drum roll anymore, because we announced Saturday the 10th of May, inshallah, which is our ECM 3, and that will be held in Paris North. We've then got the 6th of September for the COEJ conference, and then the 8th of November 2025 for COEJ ECM 4. Inshallah, we're wanting to announce these so that people can plan as far ahead as possible, rather than having to wait for the notice, rather than having to ask questions about when it's going to be. And we'll hopefully be able to present the locations of these and the venues of these conferences in due course as well. But as we said, we know we've got COEJ ECM 3 happening in Paris North, inshallah. That brings me to the end of the Secretariat update. I would now like to open the floor to any observations, any questions. Yeah, fine.
First of all, Zuhair bhai, excellent presentation. And I was looking at the body language of everyone, and I'm looking at the traction. And I want to say some positives and some things that we can improve on together. One of the positives, I want to give a special star mention to Peterborough Jamat, to Abbas bhai. Whenever there is a COEJ event, then Peterborough Jamaat is extremely fast, rapid in being able to actually announce them on social media. It actually makes a very, very fantastic teamwork. And the other person who is not here, but is a shining star in Leeds Jamaat. So we have a young, amazing Jedi there, very talented, Adnan. He is very, very proactive, and then again, it's super. So whenever there is a Leeds activity, COEJ recognize. When there was a Peterborough activity, COEJ recognize, and this is vice versa. Other Jamaats, what I would like is, please, when we have activities, especially because we've got growth area. I look at the head of Qari, for example. We've got amazing Quran competition, and then we're going to have I would like the different Jamaats, everyone, to actually publicize. It makes life happier. It's a win-win situation. So I would like everyone to actually be part of it, and it really helps, because then we can go away from the point, oh, mane khabar na tha ka program che. I did not know this, but now we are on a positive, so let's do that. I'm looking at Sister Zainab and Brother Fazl, but there's going to be a lot of madrasa activities going on. So when that happens, we want all the madaris, teachers and children and parents to engage with that. Very, very important. So if you remember one thing from this exco, is not all about the other debates. The one thing is, speak about sharing, speaking, and following. Subscribing, following. I'm going to ask, How many of you have signed up to the new WhatsApp communication? Can I have raise of hands? There's a WhatsApp communication group. How many have done it? 1, 2. Oh, why don't I see all the hands up? Huh? Well, you know, because I am so naughty, I send them to you guys personally as well. Ne ત્યાં એક link છે, ખાલી press કરો. Ne આજે Zuhair bhai, Kazim bhai, you guys are going to share that? Brilliant. So we'll do that, and I'm going to look at everyone who is signing up. I'm in that mood now, yeah? Okay. And you should also look, is Arif Ali following each one of you? If I don't, then I want to. Ahsan. Ahsan. So the answer is that we have shared the link, we'll share it again. We'll share it again. Yeah, and we will not only that, we will share you many things. A pela karo, any bad a karo, netrijo a karo, and you'll have to follow it exactly. When your respective better halves ask, what are you doing? You are following the president of COEJ, what he demanded. Santum. Thank you very much. Kamil bhai.
Hassan, thank you.
I just saw that the next EC meeting is planned for the 10th of May, and just wanted to say that we discussed that with Sujat Bhai, and this is bank holiday on the 8th of May. So probably the attendance will be very low due to the fact that it's bank holiday. So maybe it's a good thing to postpone for 1 week, or maybe think about that.
This, you mean bank holiday in Paris? Okay, okay. Sure. Okay, let's look at that then. Let's have a conversation, inshallah. Ji.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I just had one feedback from Jamat. A lot of things seem to be going to Instagram and no emails are coming. Now, the way Jamat works, okay, we do have Instagram, but the secretary is very keen that we get all this information by email, so that at least we send it to everybody. That's our main means of communication. So I would please request, because some people don't have Instagram. Everything goes on Instagram, which is good, but also we need to have emails in which we can send it to our members.
I know that's fair feedback. So I think, you know, as mentioned earlier, we've got the new role coming in, and part of that is going to be able to sort of look at our processes and what we're able to do, and it'll be a bit of a hybrid role. So inshallah, we'll be able to take that feedback on board. Rasul Bhai?
I'd just like to echo the great presentation. Just a couple of observations regarding some of the boards that you've done. In the past, we've seen boards come and boards go. And for example, the business directory, I think we've spent about £3,000 and nothing has come out of it. So I think what we need to be cognizant of is what are we trying to achieve and what is the measurable. Now, Camp COEJ, fantastic, you're saying is oversubscribed. But how can we convert these youngsters coming into these camps and then ending up as volunteers or future leaders? Sweden camp, for example, a number of people came out of that and obtained leadership roles within our community. I think when we have these boards, there needs to be a strategy behind it. Okay, we're having this, and how do we basically then guide them that they basically come back and act as mentors, act as volunteers, act as leaders of our community. So that's one of the things. The other thing, leadership, for example, the leadership, the LDP program. I think we discussed in the earlier session about trustees. Trustees don't know what the responsibilities are. Perhaps as part of that leadership banner that you have, where you're having leadership programs, perhaps there could be a session about trustees. You know, and I think that's something that we need to sort of consider. The other thing that, while I appreciate there's a lot of work happening, and alhamdulillah, inshallah, you'll succeed in what you're trying to do, and you asked for this operations manager. That's very good and it's required, but I'm still concerned about the finances. We just heard 114 and 113. How are we going to finance this? So I think there needs to be some sort of a short-term strategy, medium-term strategy of financing, because if we want to move ahead, the only way COEJ can work is through programs. And for programs, you need funding. So those are some of the observations that I have.
Hassan, thank you. I'm just going to take a question from Sujat Bhai, and then I'll, inshallah, try and answer all together.
Okay, I have some couple of questions. First, it's about the different boards you have presented us. Maybe we have some common boards with Jamats, and you should maybe ask from each Jamaat, for example, senior boards or women boards or youth boards, sports. And I don't know if we all have shared our contact with you. If not, maybe you can email us with a remind that we all have this contact we need from each Jamaat, so we can share more easily some events from sports events, youth events or women events. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I know that there is a women board that we ask for to Jamaats to give contact, seniors board, etc. But if you can remind us what you need from Jamaat as contact details, so we can give you back. That's first question. Second question is about palliative care. You also shared that you need from each Jamaat one person that can join this team to be here with family. So in the requirements, there was that the person should be work in a health field. So is it required? Because we have some people that want to help and be with family in this time, but are not from health and health field. So it is a requirement, or we can give names of people that want to help in this matter. And third question, it is about more a procedure. If sometimes we as a Jamaat, we need some clear answer about some religious matter, and we need guidance from our Marja. So is there any procedure in COEJ that if we want some guidance, or we want some you know, sometimes we know what is the answer is, but we look for some answer with the staff now of our Marja. So is there any procedure, and what is the timeline? What is this procedure? And if there is a procedure, can you share it again with all Jamaats? Because personally, I don't know if there is a procedure or not. Maybe other Jamaats know, but if you can share this procedure by email to all Secretary Jamaat. Thank you very much.
Hassan, thank you. So starting with Rasul Bhai, I think, look, you're completely right, actually. Sorry. The boards need to have a clear set of strategies and objectives in mind. You know, just yesterday I was having a conversation because we were doing the final stage interviews for one of these roles that we'd had prior to us coming in. And I was talking about how you institutionalize an event or a retreat, because, you know, Camp COEJ is a really good example of that. And so that in itself being one of the aims, I think, is really where we want to go. So whether it's the Qari retreats that we're looking at, that's one of the things that we want to become an institutionalized event as part of, you know, it doesn't matter whether Arif Bhai is here in 5 years, I'm here or not here, well, not that we can go for multiple terms, but we want the events and the initiatives to remain long after, and that's what we're trying to achieve. But I think you are right. In terms of LDP, I think the CPD idea for trustees, actually, that's come out of today is probably a really good idea, and I see no reason why. And I say this, you know, on a whim, but hopefully the president doesn't kill me. I see no reason why we can't have an ECM that runs over 2 days, where we have the ECM followed by some type of CPD for the trustees in terms of what it means to be a trustee, our responsibilities as leaders, and have some kind of bespoke LDP that's made for us. There's no reason why we cannot do that, and that would be amazing. And I think that's further to the point that you're making. In terms of the ops manager and the financial concerns, I think I share my views with Arif Bhai, which is that we had, I think he's mentioned 3 pathways for us to be able to raise funding. And, you know, that was obviously a certain portion coming from World Federation. We then have what we'll collect. We then have, obviously, donors. I think, you know, even from experience for a lot of us, donors will come forward when the activities and the initiatives mean something. And I think we've got to be really confident in what it is that we're trying to move forward with. And I think, inshallah, then the donors will come forward. And so I can empathize with, you know, totally understand why the question will come, but I think we have to have confidence in what it is that we're proposing. However, what I'd also say in addition to that is, while Sayeda Bhai, she's done an absolutely fantastic job. She's also got some family commitments, which means that we're reducing some of the hours down there. So in terms of the balance, we should be, you know, it's not as dramatic as we may see. Sujad Bhai, I think fantastic point in terms of the common boards, and you know, we can work on that for sure together. I think you had some questions about procedures and religious matters and what we do. So look, we are very, very soon wanting to announce our Ulama and Scholars Council, and it will consist of 7 to 8 scholars, maybe 5 to 7 scholars, including female representation as well. Now, we don't have an SLA in place yet. You know, I think one of the questions you had was how long would it take and what would it look like? That will all be to come, inshallah, but that plan is there and is in place, and forms part of the Vision Ahead document that we had shared with everyone. There was a question on palliative care. I'm not qualified enough to answer that question, so I'm going to hand over to Dr. Munir about the experience required.
So, Dr. Saab, the question was, why should the health care, the palliative care champion, not the member of the team or core team, but the champion, why does he or she need to be a health professional, or as per it's worded on the poster?
The champion is the one who's going to be the main link between the team and the Jamaat. And so there'll be a lot of language which will be helpful. So the health professional doesn't have to be a doctor, it can be a pharmacist, optician, physiotherapist, osteopath, any allied field, yeah? Because they will be the main link between the main team. So the language used will be very, the terminology used will be very medicalized. So it's important that they are aware of that. But there's no reason why locally you can't have a team, because it's not a one-person job. This is not a one-person job. In fact, when there is any community member suffering with cancer, end of life, it's the other people who are more empathic. I'm a health professional, who I can say, because I'm allowed to, because we see so many of such things, our heart has become very hard. Yeah. So Shani Bhai will agree with me, whether he says yes or no, but he agrees with me. But our heart has become very hard. So it's important the community members who, because at this moment of time when you're sort of, you know, very unwell, you want somebody with a soft heart. But for the champion, we want the person who can understand the lingo. But then they can, within the Jamaat, have a bigger team.
Deadline. Team members, deadline. 15th of February is the deadline for nominating or appointing your palliative care champions. So 15th, we don't have a lot to go. It's a week. So please, in a week's time, latest, those who have not, you have to. Because otherwise, there will be some Jamaats who will be lagging behind, and you won't be able to share the best practice. Okay, this my Ramzan, there is a speech. Most of you who have actually committed to the 20th night, was it?
We'd obviously sent an email of that. We want everyone to speak on the 20th night in all of our centres in terms of the palliative care champion. We've sent the email, some have sent back to confirm and some haven't. If everyone that is here could please make a note to speak to your Jamat Secretary Generals, if that isn't yourself, okay? And come back to us with a confirmation that it can happen, it will happen on that evening, and what the timing or the program will look like. And I appreciate, by the way, for Mahr Ramadan, the programs may not be fully laid out yet, but even if for now it's just a confirmation, if we could please come back with that at least, because then the team can get on with making arrangements for the rest of the stuff they need to do. Thank you. There has been some that have come through, by the way, and have confirmed, so Hassan, thank you so much for those. But for those that haven't, please do.
So, on behalf of Hujjat, Mehboob, on behalf of you. So, Shuhad by Hujjat, they've got a new, well, no, they've revived, they're known as a cancer support group. So, I think they're meeting next Sunday, where it's chai and chat of people suffering with cancer, or the carers of the cancer will have a support group. They'll be helped, show what is available, and there are no doctors or health professionals. That I was part of that group and I've been kicked out because we don't want doctors. But yeah, it is on next Sunday in Hujjat. Mana kadi naika?
But for example, KSMC of London, so maybe you're going to be very happy. So you don't have to do a big action point because Bashir Bhai came back with 21st night that they're given a slot, for example. So you can actually adjust yourself, you know, it's like the nights. Thank you.
Just if I can share some sentiment from Jamaat about my question about if we have some religious matter and we want to ask something towards Aga. So sometimes we don't understand that if we have a question, we go to our regional federation or more, and we are asking for a question, and it took months or maybe more to have an answer. It's like a frustration because we are faculty applicates ke amo marja sate close se ne marja apne એના કરમ નજરથી આપણને જોઈ છે ને અવારનવાર અમારા અમે મરજા પાસે જાય છે અને જ્યારે આપણા પાસે સવાલ હોય 6 મહિના લાગી જાય. It's a frustration for Jamaat. So that's why I'm asking for clear procedure and how long it take if we have some matters and if it can be solved locally. So alhamdulillah, if we need some stamp now from our merger, so we can, if we want a clear timeline about it. Thank you.
Hassan, so I'll give good news and then challenging news. Good news is what Zuhair Bhai already has said. The reason for setting up what we would call a European Ulama Council with not humongous number of scholars, but a limited with certain qualification and that they have got good representation and knowledge is because to solve this problem. Within that, the point here is also, do we need to go to the marja for each case? No, but they would refer to what marja has said relatively faster. The downside, or the part which will be challenging, is that some questions, for example, as far as palliative care is concerned, are actually very challenging. They're very challenging. And why did we set up a palliative care in the manifesto already? Because we have population which is growing or becoming older. But palliative care is not only about age. Then you have advancing medical abilities and how you care. You prolong the time of how you can sustain people alive. But then to interpret of what to do in one case, I'm looking at Dr. Saab, is it fair to say it's not straightforward? No, from a fiqhi point of view. I know your question was more general, because the grassroots member, the member of the Jamaat, will want to have answers of multiple. You asked, for example, about Zakatul Fitr. That one is not a straightforward answer, yeah? There's got tiers, answers. Alhamdulillah, we've got at least experience in that one within our community. But we will have to set up procedure. So back to your point. You know, we can't expect that we will get answers overnight. I don't think we will get to that point. But if we are able to have the most tough questions to be answered within a week or 1.5 weeks compared to, 6 months, which is not okay, I think then we have reached a very good success level. I just want to be open. As Zuhair Bhai said, we will not be able to answer that directly. It will take about, because this is a gap which we are filling. It's a gap which we are filling. Yeah? I forgot to mention something on LDP. I want to take this opportunity to share with you amazing collaboration opportunity between the Council of European Jamaats and the Africa Federation. So we have initiated discussion on how we have leadership development program in a way that it is a win-win situation. You can just imagine the number of entrepreneurs which are between our two continents. Also the part about that we've got talent which we want to not start from scratch, we can actually use. And we've got some, I'll just give a small cliffhanger. We probably are going to come with some additional exciting news in 2026 with another collaboration example, which is not exactly leadership, but it is linked to financial. Zuhair Bhai, can I just add on to an answer about Rasool Bhai, which you answered partially? I want to be more open to fill the gap of the budget. We actually are actively now reaching out to donors. And there are different categories of donors. Some who are tabligh oriented, Islamic education oriented. Some love more sports. Others love entrepreneurship. I would like us to look at ourselves as a network. I'm reaching out here to all of us together that we are creating brochures specific for different areas. And if you help us in raising or finding donors who are interested in different parts, we are open for business for that. Okay, sorry the pun. Thank you, Hassan.
He's saying commission was the tweet.
Hassan, thank you. I'm conscious that we need to move on to AOB. Is there any final comments, observations, or questions on Secretariat before we do move on to AOB? Shabir Bhai. So is there anyone else? I'm going to take Shabir Bhai. Is there anyone else before we, just so I can sort of have them, Salat time is approaching as well, want to get AOB. So if there's nobody else, then I'll take Shabir Bhai and then we'll move straight on to AOB. Hassan, thank you.
Mine's not a question, but thank you very much for your report. Exciting things happening since October, alhamdulillah. Just a suggestion that when you send those leaflets out to the Jamaats, just dump one on us as well, please.
Leaflets?
Whatever you send to the Jamaats, you're having this thing on the 20th of February or whatever. Copy us as well. Just so we are
the trustees,
aware.
sorry.
Yeah,
sorry,
please. Because it's the same, I know you have a separate group for the Jamaats, but they are trustees as well. Some of them are trustees. So please just copy in, just a suggestion. So at least we as the trustees who are not, like Fair. I'll be honest, when you're talking about palliative care, I had no clue.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah,
fair
thank
comment.
you. That's it.
Hassan, thank you. Yeah, very good. Okay, so we now move on to AOB. Any other business?
Bhai, tame kahin bolo. खबर पड़े तो मैं आया बात.
Any questions? Rasool bhai.
It's not. It's just a brief update on the IRT. See if I can just put that in on IRB. So, since the last World Federation meeting, the EXCO had approved the skeleton and gave us authority to go for drafting. The IRT looked at 3 quotes from 3 different legal teams. A comparative summary of all the quotes were done, and decided to go with DAC Beechcroft because they've already worked with the World Federation and they know that. So we've done that. The first draft has been done, and the working team had a meeting earlier this week where we made some clarified some areas that they wanted clarification on. We're hoping that the draft document will be circulated during Ramadan so that everyone can then discuss, and there will be road shows. And then I think thereafter, perhaps COEJ would then need to meet up after that discussion has been done to see a way forward and what he thinks of its document. So yes, that's basically just a sort of brief summary or a brief update of that.
Asant, amazing. Thank you so much, Rasool bhai. Just one item from me on AOB with regards to the December WF Exco. Alhamdulillah, there was lots of feedback that came through from the elected councillors. And so we're going to send that through to World Federation just as a matter of course, because it's important that we get our feedback across. And I think one of the things that came from the councillors that were here is that we don't have 3-day conferences. We stick with 2 days. We're talking about the Exco, yeah. So do it over the Saturday, Sunday rather than the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So that was the feedback or the consensus that came through. So inshallah we'll collate that feedback and get that across on behalf of the elected councillors. Is there any other observations, questions, any other business? Dr. Jiwa.
Coming to the next EC meeting in Paris, they have requested you to, I think go for a week ahead. My request was to, if you can do this ASAP, if you let us know, because of the bookings, the sooner we book ourselves in hotels and, the Eurotown, even, if we start booking now.
Okay. As soon as we finalize, if it's a change of date to the earlier, we will let know so people can do booking. However, I'm not sure if we can fully do it. We can try. That's the best endeavor. The reason being is that it's a big challenge in finding weekends which are optimized. When for example, one of the things that Muhammad Kazim Bhai is looking for, when will he have the Hajj seminar? Okay, that one, you get it wrong, is a big problem. Because there's a day of departure, there is a day, how many days after Eid, and then there is a question of capturing it. So these weekends are not, I just gave one example, I can give you many more. We'll just say this, we'll try our best, let's put our heads together, okay? And when Zuhair Bhai and yourself will put your heads together, if we confirm, we'll tell you ASAP. Because I hope nobody just went and booked now. Or there's no compensation, in case.
No, inshallah, we are happy with the 10th of May. If there is some issue for the date, it's alhamdulillah we will manage it, inshallah. And if you can come one day more before, so we can visit Paris and have some other program.
Son, thank you.
Bas way kita ke 1 week you can book 1 week before aku week inshallah Paris on dipoti.
Son, thank you so much. Is there any other business from anyone? Ji Shabir bhai.
Zuhair bhai, you know, for these outside meetings, what used to happen in the past, and then it stopped with the last administration, we used to have a block booking. Whoever is going, they all end up on the same flight, on the same train. We end up in the same hotel. Instead of somebody booking, and you know, coordination for the jamats as well, logistics for the jamats becomes very, so we would tell the host jamaat, please look for us, vicinity ma, Ketlat. If we can do that as well, and I'm sure they can get us good rates. All these can stay anywhere else.
So say again? I think that's a very fair point. I think what I would say in return, please, is that when we send out the notice for the invitation to the meeting, I understand that not everyone can make every meeting. That's completely natural. But please let us know whether you are attending, are not attending, you're maybe attending, because there has been some instances of just no replies, and then of course we don't know until the day. So it's you know, inshallah, a two-way street where we can work together, inshallah. But yes, that's a very valuable point. Shabirba, you have AOB.
I think that this should be also valid on the reverse side, because from the continent now you have many councillors coming, almost more than the UK councillors. So we have, that would be great to book the same hotel and so on.
Amazing, thank you.
So Arif Bhai, President nahi, but Mota Arif Bhai, I agree with you, and I have got an issue or a bone to pick. You are the president, right? The buck stops with you. But this time it's Secretariat, yeah? So there are councillors who, I can understand, not everybody can attend every meeting here, but then the councillors who don't attend any meeting. So is there, you know, normally in the Jamaat, there's a bylaw that if you don't attend 3 times, you are struck out, yeah? But because these are appointed posts by the Jamaat, we don't have any say on who comes and who doesn't come. But if somebody doesn't attend 3 meetings, which means they're not interested, can we not ask the Jamaat to appoint somebody who's actually interested in coming? Some Jamaat don't come at all, so maybe they don't value COEJ, unless when they want homes money from us, yeah? It's a serious point. Arif bhai, you look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Paris થી આવ્યા છે. આ તમે તો ઓબી છો, તમે ના કાઉન્ટ નથી થતા. Yeah? But people down the road, 1.5 કલાકની ડ્રાઈવ માટે નથી આવ્યા. વોટફર્ડમાં બધા હતા. They were not here. It's not right, is it? પણ પેરિસ બધા આવશે. કારણ કે આપણે જાશું ને ઉપર.
Can we please strike from the minutes that Suela Ben is not counted? It's not right.
Hassan, thank you, Doctor. I think there is definitely some value in that and something that needs to be looked at. From April, the Schengen visa, right? We need to get. Yeah, so we have to apply for a visa from April if we're, yeah, since we left Europe, I'm thinking, right? Since Brexit. Correct. So yeah, I think there is, whilst it was the bit of humor there, I think there's value in what Dr. Munir has to say on this. From myself, we're 2 meetings in. I think as we get to 3 meetings, we'll be able to get a feel for where we're at and be able to sort of test the temperature on what we do next. Yeah? Yeah. Dr. Jiwa, and then I think Rasul Bhai.
Coming to Dr. Munir's suggestion about 3 meetings, I think this was before in the COEJ we had this thing, but the COEJ is one other thing is that the councillors who are nominated or who are they have to be a trustee. So every time they change the trustee, we will have to change the name on the charity, the list.
I think Rasul Bhai, you had something? Okay. Yeah. So it's something for us to look at, and I think there is value in this. And yeah. Is there any other observations or questions? Abbas Bhai?
Zohar Bhai, just a reminder to consider Peterborough for us to host. Perhaps November would be good for us. We'd love to host.
Allah, inshallah, let's discuss. Thank you so much. So before we close, we have. Go and ask me. Before we close, we have another 5 minutes. If there's any final observations or questions, if there isn't, then inshallah we close. And in that, I wanted to. First wanted to start by a massive thank you for everyone that's in the room, at the tables and the observers. It's been a healthy discussion. Not every conversation has been easy. I think there's been some challenge, but I think it shows the levels of engagement and passion and maturity, in the house that's present. So first of all, I wanted to say thank you to everyone for being able to handle those conversations and discussions in that way. I then wanted to also thank our hosts here in Leicester who have looked after us so graciously ever since we arrived yesterday evening. They haven't stopped in terms of what they've been able to do, with all the food that's been coming through ever since yesterday evening. So a huge thank you to Muhammad Bhai, Walji, and the entire management team here at Leicester for all of your help in facilitating this meeting. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all, inshallah. And finally, I have your calendars here for each individual Jamaat. There's one calendar per Jamaat. Please do not forget to take your calendar. And for any other Jamaats who are not here and listening online, we will keep those Jamaats calendars with ourselves. Now we have, I believe we have less than 10 minutes till Salah. I'm going to invite Brother Husayn Juma for Dua Wahda, after which we'll have a group picture, inshallah, and then we will end with Salah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا إله إلا الله إلها واحدا ونحن له مسلمون لا إله إلا الله ولا نعبد إلا إياه مخلصين له الدين ولو كره المشركون لا إله إلا الله ربنا ورب آبائنا الأولين لا إله إلا الله وحده أنجز وعدا ونصر عبدا وعز جندا وهزم الأحزاب وحدا فله الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت ويحيي وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
Before anyone walks away from the table, please, 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 please. We're going to try something different, please. It can go bad, it can be good. Can I ask everyone on this side to come closer here? Everyone a bit closer here. We're going to take the group photo now, but without it being stooped, because we don't have a lot of time. Come closer, please. Can I ask Brother Azhar Jamil that you go in the middle there? Can I ask all volunteers to come here at the front, please? Okay. Come closer, please. Husayn, Shabir Bhai. And then we want to have specific place for sisters, so maybe the brothers have to move towards my direction. And if the volunteers can come here, please, if you can sit down maybe, that's my best suggestion. I'll come and sit with you. Observers, please, can you come and join, please? Please. Observers, please. Please, please, please. Okay, now can I ask all the brothers to come closer here so that we have a gap, so sisters can have a gap, a respectable gap, please? Thank you. Thank you. More towards me, I don't bite. Hi. Thank you so much. Hi. Yeah. Come on, Hasnain bhai, quickly. Okay. Hi, smile.
And that is now the meeting adjourned. Ahsantum, thank you.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن عليًّا ولي الله أشهد أن عليًّا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله وصل اللهم على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين.
محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم اجعل قلبي بارا وعملي سارا وعيشي كارا ورزقي دارا وأولادي أبرارا واجعل لي عند قبر نبيك محمد مصطفى صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم مستقرا وقرارا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم
صل على محمد وعلى محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمد